Hold on.
Embiid stepping back and stroking two. Bogdanovich thinking about a three. There it is. Yes!
See it again. No double team help, and Embiid takes it right to the rack.
Embiid, step back, jumper, you bet!
There he is again. The Euro step there. Embiid getting Gobert to fight.
The man in that intro video was actually the one bright light on a day full of I guess frustration for fans. Disappointment is a fair way of putting it. What's going on, everybody? Austin Krell back with you. The new episode of the Feed to Embiid on this fine Sunday evening after the Game 1 loss to the Atlanta Hawks in the second round. I have my good pal who has been so kind as to dress up nicely for this podcast. Carlin covers the Sixers for Sixers Wire of USA Today. Kai, how are we?
I'm all right, man. I just walked in through the door after a tough Game 1 loss, as you just mentioned. Just walked in through the door, and now I'm hopping in this podcast with my guy, man. Hopping on.
That's right. I don't look as good as you do. So, like what I'm thinking here is I have an appearance on a Pakistani news TV show tomorrow morning. It's at 7:00. So I'm thinking I'm going to shower with that. So I'm just not gonna waste water tonight. I'm just going to shower in the morning and then hop on there and we'll take care of it there. So my hair is a mess. But you look way better than I do right now. So I always appreciate when my guests one up me. It's tremendous. It shows that I am just a scrub, unprepared for my own show.
Nah, you're never a scrub, bro. You are definitely never a scrub.
That's right. Anyway, Sixers lose Game 1 of the series to the Atlanta Hawks on what is today? Today is Sunday. Jesus Christ, it's Sunday.
I know.
Shit.
Hey, man, I don't think you can take the Lord's name in vain on a Sunday.
Fair. They open up the game, and it was like close through the first 6 minutes. And then Atlanta really just sort of, had the edge, and the Sixers were reeling from there.
Right.
I guess the thing that we'll start here with is Joel start the game. He looked, I thought, put it this way, I thought he looked like he was like you wouldn't have been able to tell he had a torn meniscus. If you hadn't known about it beforehand, because he was his usual self. He was landing, he was going up strong. And he didn't look really bothered by it.
Yeah, I mean, 39 points, 9 rebounds. They were just the thing is, they got off to such a tough start that nobody's even going to remember that Joel had 39 and 9. Everybody's just going to remember the fact that Game 1 at home, Joel rings the bell with Triple H, and the two of them are doing the X and the celebration thing like before the game. The crowd is hyped. But then all of a sudden, the game started and you're down by 26, and all of a sudden the Sixers look like a bunch of jackasses for bringing out, Triple H and hyping the crowd up, and they're down by 26. You know what I'm saying? Look like a bunch of jackasses. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a tough start. They weren't ready for Trae Young. They weren't ready for Bogdanovich, and then a bunch of shooters that the Hawks have around Trae Young. The bench lineup was an absolute disaster. Now you got to go back to the drawing board now and get ready for Game 2.
Yeah. The all bench unit was gross. To
put it nicely.
To put it nicely. I suspected that Danny Green would start the game on Trae. And the reason I suspected that was because he actually did an okay job.
In the regular season.
Yeah. And really you can't you really can't like take anything from those regular season games because either team was shorthanded. Like the Hawks were shorthanded in the latter two games when the Sixers blitzed them, and then the Sixers had everybody out in the first game because of COVID. So it wasn't really a good barometer. But I thought, generally speaking, when I went back and rewatched the third game of the season, I thought Danny did fine. However, the Hawks were playing Tony Snell, Solomon Hill. They didn't have DeAndre Hunter. They didn't have Bogdan Bogdanovic. And so those are seismic pieces that the Hawks, didn't have in the rotations back then. And so maybe the Sixers moved a little closer to the lanes, cut off those driving angles, and suddenly Trae Young kind of felt maybe a little bit trapped in those games. And that kind of made Danny Green look a little better. But in this game, it was a deer in headlights. Danny really had no chance against Trae. And it killed them in the first quarter, and they never really looked back from that. Now, with the all bench lineups, we'll go with that first. Those all bench lineups, they go Tyrese, they go George, they go Matisse, they go, I think, was it Furk?
Yeah, they went Furk and then Dwight.
So we've seen it inconsistently all year long. Like this team has been a very up and down with those all bench units, really more down than up by a pretty heavy margin, I would say. And so the fact that Doc still leaned into it, I guess I suspected because he hasn't adjusted away from it, and he doesn't like make these changing the wheel adjustments, that deviate from what he usually does. So I wasn't too surprised by it, but I just kind of felt like, okay, it's been a couple possessions. They clearly can't hang. Let's make some changes here and get these starters back in before this game is out of hand. But no, he kept going with it. They're down 15. They are down 27 after the all bench unit departs. So Doc really didn't do a good job of adjusting to the circumstances of that game. And I thought the first sign of that was the all bench unit.
Yeah. To your point about the all bench unit, according to StatMuse, the Sixers all bench lineup between the end of the first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter got outscored 10-0. They missed all three of their shots, and they had 5 turnovers. And they were out, and like I said, they were outscored 10-0. So I know Doc went to the all bench lineup with 42.9 seconds left in the first quarter. He ran with it until the 10:08 mark of the second, and that's when he put Tobias Harris back in for Matisse Thybulle. And even then, Austin, they did not score their first bucket of the second quarter until there was like 7:42 left. Tobias had like a layup. So all of a sudden, they went from being down, I think it was 10 to being down 20, like in a flash. Yeah, like with that bench unit. And then Doc went back to Tobias. And then obviously Atlanta built their lead a little bit more. So the Sixers, honestly, and I think Seth Curry even said it afterwards. Seth Curry said, at the end of the first quarter, we were right there. They were shooting the heck out of the ball. We were scoring the ball pretty well. But we didn't turn it over. I think at the end of the first, early second, that's where we lost the game. Like that's where that's what Seth Curry said. And I don't think he was trying to throw shade at the second unit, but unfortunately, those are the minutes where the second unit was out there. So the second unit really was just awful.
I don't think you can even throw shade at the second unit because they are who they are. I mean, it isn't like you paid guys on big deals to come in and be great second unit guys. These are the pieces they have. They're getting they're in the roles and at the salaries they're at for a reason because they're not that great. And it's up to Doc to put them in the right spots. And I felt like he didn't do that at all today. Now, I felt like generally overall, the Sixers did not take advantage of opportunities they had in this game. Not even from like a shot making or like cutting off the blood supply before they bled out. But you don't have DeAndre Hunter in this game. DeAndre Hunter if he's healthy, is going to be a factor in the series.
Yes, he is.
So you could have really, done some damage against a team that had to go a little smaller, had to play Solomon Hill or Tony Snell minutes that they usually wouldn't have had. And additionally, Onyeka Okongwu only played like 12 minutes. I think he had like 2 points or whatever. But Clint Capella in the starting unit only had like 10 points, 11 boards, which is for him somewhat of a below standard game. So the Hawks weren't overly dominant on the glass tonight. I felt like the Sixers just didn't capitalize on those weak points, because we saw it in the Washington series with Daniel Gafford. I mean, the whole reason like Daniel Gafford was a beast was because the Sixers were missing rotations under the rim on dribble penetration and leaving the weak side open for him to come in and get offensive boards. And I felt like the Sixers did a fine job of boxing out today for the most part. That weren't like these random, unaccounted for offensive rebounds, but they didn't take advantage of the fact that they were able to mitigate those issues. And, in a game where you can sort of mitigate the damage on the glass, to lose that game is painful, because there are going to be games where Capella has 15 rebounds this year.
Yep, because Clint Capella's a good rebounder.
He was the best in the league this season, and he was the best on the offensive glass too. So the fact that he only had 10 boards in this game total is brutal, that you lost this game. That's the case there. Now, Danny Green obviously can't hang with Trae.
No.
Your first adjustment is probably what? Switching him onto Bogdanovic and putting Ben on Trae?
I don't know if you can do that, though, because Austin, I know you and I have actually talked about this before, because Doc always says he doesn't do that with Danny because he doesn't like Danny chasing shooters. So, but I mean, and Bogdan's not a guy who's necessarily going to keep running off screens like, for example, Duncan Robinson down in Miami. But Bogdan's more of like a spot-up guy, and he's not more of a guy who's going to come off screens and stuff like that. But, I mean, let's just say the Hawks even noticed that, and then they begin to kind of run him off screens too. So I don't know if you can even do that. But you might have to do it out of necessity, because Ben is probably the only guy in the starting lineup that you would trust to guard Trae Young. He's really the only one. But even then, Austin, Ben struggles with those quicker, smaller, shifty point guards. He struggled with Kemba Walker before Kemba, turned into the shell of himself, but like when Kemba was in Charlotte, he always cooked Ben. Kyrie Irving is a guy who always cooked Ben. Trae Young, even in the past, his rookie year, his second year, Trae Young had a lot of success against Ben. And now in the second half of today's game, Trae Young did shoot 3 for 10 from the floor.
Yeah.
Compared to 8 for 13 in the first half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, Doc did put Ben on Trae, and maybe there's a correlation between the two of them there, but I'm not really sure if you can really put Ben there long term, Austin, because of the fact that Ben might pick up a lot of quick fouls early.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's a ton you can do in terms of like off-ball switching. Like, let's simulate the scenario where Danny Green is guarding Bogdanovic, and Clint Capella is setting a screen, or whomever is John Collins setting a screen. If you switch that, then you're going to have Tobias on Bogdanovic, which, I mean, I guess for a possession here or there is something you can live with, but you can't then live with the switch of having Danny Green on John Collins. He'll get killed. You can't live with Joel Embiid with a torn meniscus trying to stay in front of Bogdanovic. You'll get killed. He'll get killed. Someone will get killed. So it's kind of like, you're ultimately going to have to live with Ben fighting through screens, hedging a little bit. I wrote this in my preview, but you can't switch this series because I think it just puts like a ton of pressure on Embiid on the perimeter, and the last thing you want is to have him be ultra shifty on the perimeter with that knee. You want to mitigate and sort of reduce the amount of movement and change of direction and change of pace that he has to put on that knee. There's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of shock there.
Right.
I think the scheme has to be Ben on Trae no matter what. And, if they're running pick and rolls, you're going to have to hard hedge that or show high and then get back to the rim. You're going to have to ice the coverage a little bit, where you basically funnel him to the baseline side. There's anything to keep Young out of the middle of the floor is kind of what you have to do. And it felt like in this game, Young got whatever he wanted. Danny Green eventually just couldn't get around screens. He was pulling up and knocking threes down. He was creating off the dribble. And Doc is like over and over again, we want guys to take contested twos. We don't want threes. We don't want shots at the rim. And Trae was getting whatever he wanted, throughout the game.
Yeah, like that. Like that's always been the big thing. And then in the second half, they did like a much better job, obviously, because Trae Young shot 3 for 10. I think Bogdanović shot 3 for 12. The only thing is Bogdanović hit the biggest shot of the game with that late 3-pointer when Philadelphia was making their run. I'll be honest with you, Austin. I didn't think that shot was going in. Like I was like, yeah, there's no way that shot's going in.
What shot?
The Bogdanović shot late.
Oh wow. No, well, it had the arc on it, so I was like, oh, that feels like it's gonna go in, and he nailed it. But
I mean, listen, it was a huge shot because, like I said, Philadelphia got back to within 3.
Yeah.
And and then also, the Hawks did not handle the Sixers' full court press very well. They handled
Doc was very happy to gamble on their youth coming out, and
yeah. And I mean, listen, and that's why I think the Sixers still win this series, just for the simple fact that, think about it. Atlanta made 23 pointers today. They made 23s. Philadelphia had 4 more turnovers. I think the Hawks. There was like another stat that stood out, something about free throws, and yet they only won by 4 points. You know what I'm saying? The Sixers were right there. The thing is, though, you need to they just really need to come out with the right intensity. They looked flat. They looked like they didn't care. They looked honestly, Austin. It looked like they were just going to kind of walk into this series and come away with a win. No, the Sixers. That's what it looked like. That game 1, they come out and it looked like, oh, we're the number 1 seed. We have Joel Embiid. We have Ben Simmons. We're coming away with a win. Like that. That's what it felt like. But at the end of the day, they also need to realize that, the Hawks are not a bad team. They are going to fight you to the end. And I think today was maybe something of a wake up call for them. And they'll just have to come out and bounce back in game 2. It's kind of that simple.
Yeah, I kind of think they were like more concerned and preoccupied about Embiid, his status, than they were like in preparation for the game. I'm not in the building, so I don't know. But it just kind of felt like the Sixers were in a lot of ways unprepared, not for just like what Atlanta went with, but like how to adjust and counter what they went with, which I think is the most damning part of all.
Yeah, agreed.
But the thing that would kind of worry me, and I still do think the Sixers will ultimately win the series because they have more experience. I think they're a little bit deeper than Atlanta is. Atlanta's a really good team. The only reason they're not better than a 4 seed was because they started out 14-20. If they had Nate McMillan for a whole campaign, I think they'd be a better team. They'd be a higher seed.
I don't know if I would say the Sixers are deeper than the Hawks, just because if you look at Atlanta's depth, who they can come up with off the bench, Danilo Gallinari should probably be starting for a lot of teams. Then Lou Williams, who is the best 6th man to ever play the game of basketball, and then there's Kevin Huerter, who was their starter for the past couple of years until they got Bogdanović. And did I
say they were deeper?
Yeah, you said the Sixers were deeper.
I meant to say they were older, but yes, you're right. They are deeper.
Oh, okay. All right. I wanted to clarify.
You're 100% right. The Sixers are really, really not that deep at all, but yet the fact that they're deeper than they were in previous years kind of tells you how bad the depth was in previous years.
No, for sure. But one thing that stood out to me, though, Austin, real quick before we move on, Dwight Howard looked very old today.
Yeah, he did.
Like Dwight Howard looked like Father Time caught up to him very quickly today. And I noticed it in the Wizards series. In the one loss in that series in game 4, he could not keep up with Daniel Gafford. Gafford outquicked him. Gafford was obviously more athletic. And listen, that's to be expected. Dwight's 35. But just, and then in a series like this one with Atlanta, between Capella, the rookie Onyeka Okongwu, and John Collins as well, though Dwight looked very old, and he looked very old very quickly. So I don't know if that's an area of concern just yet, but it's something to think about.
Yeah. Let me tell you that my friends at King Cobra, the King Cobra, Do you like shotgunning beer? Do you want to increase your shotgunning time at parties? Check out my boys at the King Cobra. The King Cobra is a shotgunning tool that makes the perfect shotgunning. Hold on there a second. Also a tab puller, vent puncher, and all fits on a keychain. For more information about the King Cobra, you can check them out on Instagram at the King Cobra Co. That's the King Cobra Co. And Cobra is spelled with a K. For a 10% discount on all products, enter the code Trust the Cobra 10, all caps, all one word. Pick it up at yours today. So I'm looking at the box score from the bench for Atlanta here. Gallinari had 9 points. Lou Will had 8 points. Okongwu had 2. Tony Snell only played 4 minutes, but didn't do anything. Herter had 15. So again, there's another thing that you failed to capitalize on, that they had a down and bench game from a team that can that has the pieces on the bench to pose problems. They only scored 24 points off the bench tonight, and the Sixers couldn't pull that game out. So that's another failed opportunity there. But Kevin Herter, I thought, made a lot of big plays, big shots in this game, and I thought that kind of was like emblematic of not just the game as a whole and the failed opportunities, but the fact that the Sixers really did not do a good job at defending the 3-point arc in this game. Atlanta made 20 of 47 threes. And Atlanta for the season was a pretty good 3-point shooting team. It averaged, I think, 11 made threes per game on 20 something attempts. And in the playoffs, I think they've upped that to 14 made threes a game. So they're going to make their threes. They're going to get them. Right. But there's a big difference between 14 and 20. 20 is a slaughterhouse. They can't be giving up 23s. And a lot of them were open. Like Kevin Herter hit a lot of back-breaking open threes. And I thought that was really just killer for the Sixers in this game. A lot of it was they're trapping. They're making rotations over to close out on Young, and then he swings it, and then they're recovering back extra pass to get to the weak side. And then it's like Bogdanovich waiting for the guy to come, and then he kicks it over in the corner to Herter, who has a wide open look. So I thought it was a lot of extra passes, ball movement, and just the Sixers reeling out of their rotations. And I thought that was just killer for the Sixers tonight. But they're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to take away those threes a little bit, chase guys up the line, and that's one of the many areas of need for the Sixers in this game. Now, let's go over to Ben Simmons. 3 of 10 from the free throw line in this game.
My favorite subject.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's and again, you know how much I see the good in Ben Simmons, but it's been a dramatic fall, where he's not even breaking 50% from the line.
Yeah, it's really bad, and I mean, listen, 53.3% from the free throw line after the All-Star break. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's just that's not going to get the job done. 53.3% from the free throw line after the All-Star break for the final stretch of the regular season. Then I believe off the top of my head in the series with Washington, he shot 10 for 28 from the free throw line. His best game was Game 5 when he shot 5 for 8, and got the Wizards to stop with the hack-a-Ben stuff. But I mean, the fact that Ben Simmons is shooting this poorly from the free throw line, he is your point guard. You know what I'm saying? That's your point guard. And from 5 for 28 or 10 for 28 in the series against Washington to combine that today with Atlanta, that's now 13 for 38 from the free throw line in these playoffs. And that is not going to get it done. You are the point guard of this team. They're going to hit you with the hack-a-Ben. You have got to be able to step up and hit free throws. And everybody knows that I'm a huge Ben Simmons guy. I think he's a top 20 player. You can make a case for top 15, and I don't think I would be.
You were adamant top 15. Now it's top 20.
He's top 20 now. He's dropping a little bit. Still top 20, still very good. Yeah. But definitely, bet Austin, he's dropping a little bit. But listen, he's an elite defender. Obviously, he does a great job creating shots, and Doc has a good point every time. Ben does a lot of good things for this team, but we can't just sit here and ignore his free throw shooting. We just can't.
Yeah. the hack of Ben's going to be a problem until he figures that out. And I think that just like I'm kind of surprised that his touch is as off as it is. Like it isn't like he is getting those just like this unlucky swirlies where they go around and pop out. He's missing them well short, well long, or whatever. There's like zero touch right now from the free throw line for Ben, and it isn't something that's going to get better by us talking about it more. So I kind of like almost want to say like
what's the point?
We're only making it worse. But at the same time, it's not the fans' fault that this is happening. This is not about any of anyone else but Ben Simmons just locking in and getting out of his own head. I was talking to Paul Hudrick and Jason about this on my last pod, and they both kind of thought that the Washington thing that happened 2 years ago and he was a rookie. They didn't think that was at play, but I just have a hard time believing that this guy doesn't get fouled intentionally and automatically think back to that instance where that happened. I just find it hard to believe that he's a human. He's a human, and those are mental hurdles to get over for humans. And I mean, if it isn't that, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the guy just is not close with these free throw attempts right now.
Well, I think free throws are just kind of what you just mentioned, Austin. I think all of it's mental. Like if you step into the line, man, like you've either got 30,000 or in this case, pandemic year, 15, 16, 17,000 people screaming at you, at the free throw line. Even the fans here. I mean, obviously, I was at the game, and there was a fan in front of the media section who cursed Ben out after every single free throw that he missed. And the fan base is frustrated, and listen, they have a right to be so. Like, I mean, think about it, Austin. They lost by 4, and Ben missed 7 free throws.
I can't do that. I can't subscribe to that theory because then I can okay, but they gave up 23s.
No, for sure. Ben's free throw shooting is not why they lost this game.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to like make that a thing. What I'm saying is though, the fact that he shot 3 for 10 in a game where they lost by 4, and I think Atlanta only missed like 2 free throws as a team or 3 free throws. There was something really crazy like that. They were really great from the line. And Ben missed 7 by himself. I don't know. Like just for me, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, for sure. Matisse Thybulle, what do you do in terms of adjusting like that starting unit? I kind of have half a mind to start Thybulle because I think he works better with that unit, but I also think
I don't think you can.
Doc's not going to make any changes, and you can't start him with Ben. You really can't start him.
Yeah.
With Ben. There was one look early in the game today where Thybulle had a wide open 3, thought about it, and completely just passed out of it. And I was like, "What are you doing? You guys take a shot." I mean, he made a couple 3s today, so credit to him. But just overall, I think the wing play is going to make this a much harder series for Philly than the fans anticipate. And so now they go to Atlanta. They have game 2 now. They go to Atlanta for game 3-4. Atlanta has stolen the home court advantage.
Yep.
And it's kind of problematic. I mean, they now have the pressure of game 2 is a must-win game. You have to win game 2. I mean,
they definitely can't go to Atlanta down 0-2 because I mean, God forbid they do. Those will be the last 2 games of the year.
Well, I mean, they would probably win 1 in Atlanta if that happened. But I mean,
maybe
they would win game 3. Game 4, Atlanta would probably win that. I mean, they could easily go in and just put it together and win 2, and then it's back. It's tied again. It's best.
And this is what I'm saying, and this is why I still think the Sixers win this series. It's kind of like, you and I were just talking about it earlier. I think Philadelphia has obviously more experience. They've got championship-proven veterans in Green and Howard. And then obviously you have Joel and Ben, who they have obviously failed in the second round. The previous 2 times, 2018 to Boston, 2019 to Toronto. So now they have a chance here in 2021 with Atlanta, and it's like, okay, I feel like that's going to pop up in their mind at some point. Like maybe they're going to have a heart-to-heart or something and be like, dude, like we can't fail again. Because think about it, Austin. If this team loses to the Atlanta Hawks.
They're trading Ben.
Yeah, they're trading Ben.
Yeah. There's no offense.
Because you know it's not going to be Joel. You know it's not going to be Joel. Ben's out. You know what I'm saying? Like if they lose this series to the Hawks, heads will roll.
Which I mean, certain fans would rather tank the series, and if it means trading Ben for Damian Lillard, I mean, I'm not going to name names here, but you know who I'm talking about. Now, this is a funny comment. John Rinkus says, "Yo, Trip, I thought dude on the left was sports talk with Broads who gained a few lbs. Ha ha ha." I don't know who is on the left for the viewer's screen, but I'm on the left on my screen. So I can only assume it's me. And I know who Rhodes is. I don't know what he looks like, so I can't comment on that. But you wouldn't be wrong. I probably am a little bit on the plumper side than Rhodes, that's for sure.
Damn. You hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. You do hate to see it. I thought Furkan Korkmaz provided a little bit of a lift in his
Austin.
No? You don't think so?
No. Okay. I know he hit that 1-3 in the fourth, like when the Sixers were, making that furious comeback attempt. And it's like, okay, cool. But, I mean, he was a huge part of the reason why the bench unit got outscored 10-zip in the first half. Like, again, I am not a Furkan guy, man. I'm just not. And here's why. Like, if he's not making his 3-pointers, then you can't play him. You can't play him. Okay. In the first half, he missed his 1 3-pointer. He had a turnover, and he was a minus 15 in the first half.
Not great.
So,
but it's not his fault. He's deployed with the all bench unit. I think he's
that was in 4 minutes. He did that in 4 minutes.
That's bad. That's really bad.
He did that in 4 minutes. He was a minus 15.
That's really bad.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, in the fourth quarter, fourth quarter only. Korkmaz, he had a really good fourth. He shot 3 for 4, knocked down a triple. He had 2 rebounds, and he was a +2. So, okay, a solid fourth quarter. Solid.
And who was he playing with? He was playing with regular guys.
Well, in the fourth quarter,
I mean, look.
In the fourth quarter, we got 4:28 out of Furk. Matisse played 7:46. Ben played all 12 minutes. Joel played 8:23. Seth played 8 minutes. Danny Green only played 4 minutes. Tobias played 5. And then you got 2 minutes each out of Tyrese and Dwight and 3 out of George.
Yeah.
So, and then Shake Milton randomly got 38 seconds.
Yeah.
He
is so lost. He is so lost right now. I don't get it at all. I mean, the clever one's right. I feel so bad for Shake. I don't understand what's going on with him. He looks like he has zero confidence. But the thing about Shake that like kind of annoys me, I guess, to an extent, is like he always has the body language of like he's always arguing with. I feel like he's always arguing with refs, and I just kind of feel like stop focusing around the whistles and focus on what you're doing.
right.
And I feel like just lately the shots aren't falling. His body language has been poor. He's slumped down every time, and it's like he can't play without committing a turnover right now. He can't play without committing a turnover. He's committing fouls, missing shots, and I guess like it's in some sense it's kind of like a blessing in that like they've unearthed Tyrese Maxey, and he's going to be a really good basketball player. For this team, whether it be this season or in the future, he'll be there. He'll be good. Now we go to the second half, and it was just kind of more of the same. And I had to ask Doc about this because I was very perplexed because Doc said like, we got to show him different matchups, we got to show him different looks and defenses. Yet he goes back to Danny Green for significant portions of the second half, and so. What do you think he was trying to get out of that?
I don't know, because like I mean, to be fair, he did start Ben on Trae Young in the second half.
Yeah.
But then Ben picked up 2 quick fouls. So it was like, what other choice do you really have? You got to go back to Danny. Because also, you're not going to put Seth on him. You know, like you're not going to put Seth on Trae Young. So, and you're not going to put – listen, you're not going to put Tobias on him either. So it's like the only 2 real options you have in that starting unit are Ben Simmons and Danny Green. Those are really the only 2 options you have. I
think you got to just insert Dan Burke into the game.
I like it. Just put Dan Burke in there and like let him go to work.
Let the mastermind operate.
Let him go to work.
That's exactly right. What do you think about Tyrese Maxey on him? This is my theory. I think Trae Young's – I almost said Trey Burke. Imagine if Trey Burke was doing this to the Sixers. That would be funny.
Trey Burke.
Yeah, wow. With Trae Young, his low center of gravity, I think, poses a bigger issue than people realize, because when you have a low center of gravity like that, it's harder for high-waisted guys like Danny Green, like Ben Simmons, like Matisse Thybulle to defend you.
Right.
And so a guy like Tyrese is lower to the ground, speedy, young, fresh legs. I mean, he put together a decent possession on Trey Burke, on Trey. Here we go. Trae Young down the stretch of this game when he got minutes in the fourth quarter. So I actually like the idea of Tyrese Maxey on him, and I think Atlanta has a little bit more athleticism than Washington did, so he's not going to get the looks that he had at the rim. But I think he generally has the foot speed and the ability to sort of navigate and circumnavigate the middle of the floor and get around guys.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really put Tyrese in there because I thought Tyrese looked a little overmatched today. Just a little bit. And like listen, that's to be expected. I mean, this kid's a 20-year-old rookie, and he really wasn't even he wasn't in the rotation consistently, at least until the playoffs. I know Shake was always that first guy Doc went to. And then obviously Shake has absolutely had a miserable postseason, and Tyrese has kind of taken over his spot. So I feel like it's a lot to ask of a 20-year-old rookie in the second round of the NBA playoffs, where things are beginning to get back to normal, where there are a bunch of fans and the crowds are getting loud and rowdy again. We're taking a lot of steps back towards normalcy. So Tyrese is now kind of really beginning to experience what a normal NBA season's kind of like. So I feel like it's a lot to ask right now of a 20-year-old kid to come in here and perform against a pretty damn good Atlanta Hawks team. Also, Nate McMillan as a coach, I feel like McMillan did a really good job of adjusting.
I love McMillan. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah, I think he's a great coach too. I mean, the Indiana Pacers absolutely screwed the pooch by letting McMillan go.
What a phrase.
You know why? Because I was watching Spider-Man: Homecoming, and then that's what Tony Stark says to Peter Parker.
Screw that pooch. Wow.
Yeah. Tony Stark comes out and he goes, in the latest episode of Peter Screws the Pooch. So, so that's what popped in my mind.
And I gotta be honest. I gotta give Trae Young credit. I had him pegged as an easy bust coming out of Oklahoma.
What?
I thought he was gonna be a bust. I thought there was no way he's gonna be able to get around NBA defenses, but I was way wrong. He is a star.
Honestly, from the 2018 draft, like that 2018 draft up and down, I couldn't really peg a bust. Because you knew Luka was going to be an animal. And then you knew Trae Young was, well, at least I knew Trae Young was going to come in here and be an absolute scorer. I mean, the 2018 draft was solid.
Yeah. Truthfully, I had a thing against drafting non-US players in the top 10 because I felt like there wasn't enough footage and exposure to top collegiate talent to really give a good assessment. And I thought it was kind of a risk. But Luka, I'd say the Hawks made that trade. They still got a star. And they still lost the trade. Luka is that good.
I don't know. They didn't lose that trade. It's the most even trade ever.
What do you mean? Luka is a top 5 player in the league right now.
Yes, Luka is a top 5 player. Trae Young is not. Trae Young's not a top 5 player. But I mean, it's not like Trae Young's an all-star. Like Trae Young he's. Would you say Trae Young's in the top 20 or top 25?
I don't even know. I would probably go top 25.
Like, listen, if you're in the top 25 in the NBA with the amount of talent that's in this league right now, you're still a damn good player.
Hi, we're talking top 25
versus top 5. I know, I get it.
And
I get it. I know. I know. Listen, I sound stupid right now. I get it, but
no, I'm like, I don't see the point. Like, I just kind of feel like if you put Luka in Atlanta, they're probably the 1 seed right now.
All right, so I'm looking at the top 5 from the 2018 draft, and I know like we're getting off topic here.
Luka
but like,
might even be the Mavs. The Hawks with Luka might even be like a 2 or a 3 seed. They would probably.
You think so?
Oh, easily. The Hawks are like a 50-something win team in a regular year right now.
You know what I realized? Atlanta got Kevin Huerter in the 2018 draft too.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So yeah, they got Young and Huerter out of that. All right, so the top 5 in the 2018 was Ayton, Bagley, Luka, Jaren Jackson, and Trae Young.
Bagley.
Out of those 5, Bagley's probably the worst.
And he really isn't even that bad. He's just like he's been hurt.
Injury. He just keeps getting hurt.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, Bagley's a good player.
Yeah. So getting back to the game that we cover, Embiid, the knee. I was surprised by how agile he looked and how good he looked in this game because like you just never know with the knee and you always assume it's going to be awful, but. It wouldn't surprise me if like, okay, the first game was like, okay, he's getting back on the court. There's some adrenaline rush there. Maybe he gets he starts feeling a little bit over the rest of the course of the series. But if he doesn't, I feel pretty good about their chances because, I mean, he looked as if nothing was wrong. I don't know if I know you talked to Keith and whatnot. How like bad do you think this knee injury is?
Just from my perspective and just from my viewpoint and vantage point, I don't think he wore a knee brace today. At least it didn't look like he wore one. And the fact that he put up 39 and 9, and he still got to the free throw line somewhere around 13 to 15 times, and he had like a regular Joel Embiid game. So I don't know. I think the next 24 hours are probably going to be the most key. Yeah. Like the amount of treatment he's going to get and how much rest he's going to get. I think that's going to kind of be the biggest thing. And Doc mentioned it after the game, like, hey, it's going to be treatment. He's going to get a lot of rest and things like that. And Doc mentioned he didn't want Joel out there for the last 3 minutes because of the way the Sixers were playing, just because they had to play such a frenetic up and down trap everywhere, trap everything just to get themselves back in the game. So, but I thought Joel looked okay. I mean, Joel after the game said, listen, I don't give a damn. I'm going to do everything I can to help my team win a championship. And let's be real, Joel's going to be the reason why they win anything, because they were able to get by the Washington Wizards without Joel in Game 5. But that's the Washington Wizards, where all they have is Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, or at least guys you are afraid of. If you're playing the Atlanta Hawks without Joel Embiid,
they're going to eat you. They're going to eat you in the glass. They're going to kill you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think everything in this series hinges on Joel. And even in a potential Eastern Conference Finals matchup with either the Brooklyn Nets or the Milwaukee Bucks, they will not win that series unless Joel is 100%. So, I think the only thing that matters from here on out for Philadelphia is Joel's health.
Yeah. I'll tell you about my friends at Thrive Fantasy. Come hashtag prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports app for player props. They have eliminated the need to do countless hours of research because they only ask you about the top-tier athletes in a respective sport. NFL is maybe not around the corner, but it's getting closer. Titans get Julio Jones today, but you choose 10 out of the 20 player props to build your lineup. If it's the NBA, MLB, PGA, or even esports, choose 5 out of the top 10 player prop options to build your lineup. Each prop has a fantasy point total associated with the over or under based on its likelihood to occur. The more risk at selection is worth, the riskier it is. You rack up the most points, and that's how you win a share of the prize pool. Use promo code Simmons for 3. That's Simmons, ironic. Simmons, the word for FOR 3, number 3, Simmons 43. When you sign up today, and you will receive an instant deposit match up to $50 on your first deposit of $20 or more. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store, or by visiting their website, www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and hashtag prop up today. It's funny. This is not me speculating. This is not like me like accusing anybody of anything. But my dad said to me today, because my dad's like a boomer. He was like, his big population today was, I think the Sixers faked the Embiid injury to get like that whole narrative going, so that way they can just come back and like unleash him, and it's like a great story. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, well, listen, man, whatever you want to think, by all means, think it. But I don't think they're dramatizing this and putting up an Oscar-worthy performance to have a sub storyline that doesn't help their cause. So,
yeah, I don't know. Just like the way I see it is, I thought he was moving so well today, and I mentioned in my observations post after the game, I was like, listen, Embiid was moving well, so that's kind of all that matters. You want to make sure that he is 100%, because like I said, they don't have a shot without him.
Yeah,
they just don't. And as much as improvements as Daryl Morey made up and down this roster by adding Danny and adding Seth, who are 2 huge additions just because of spacing. And I'll be honest with you, I think over the last couple of playoff games, Austin, we are kind of seeing old Tobias a little bit. Compared to the first couple of games of the playoffs, where we saw a quick decision, efficiency Tobias.
He was good today.
I thought he was okay today.
He had 20 out of 13 shooting.
Yeah, but there were a lot of times, Austin, where it seemed to me that he was kind of over. I felt like he over dribbled a little bit on a lot of those possessions.
Yeah, sure.
That's just me though. I do think he had a good game today. 20 and 10. But there were just kind of some instances here and there where I'm like, oh, Tobias, make a move, or. There were too many times in the back of my head where I was like, "Oh, Tobias, stop dribbling," or Tobias, Tobias, go to the basket. What are you doing? Yeah. Like he did that a couple times, but there were other times where it's like, "Oh, come on, man."
Yeah, there should never be a game where he's taking 13 shots. It needs to.
Yeah, he's got to take more shots.
It has to be 16, 17, 18. I mean, I get it. Like, you want to have a more balanced distribution away from Embiid, but Curry is a spot up guy, right? He can do a little bit off the dribble. In this series, I think that with the defensive abilities that the Hawks have, you can't really do too much with Curry, and because I think he'll get swallowed up. Danny was horrible today, and I think he's been great all season, but. You don't want him doing too much. So it has to be really just Ben, Joel, Joel and Tobias, creating their own offense, and Ben sort of figuring out the rest for everybody else and digging in as he sees fit. But I looked at the box score. I was kind of surprised Tobias was as efficient as he was. But yeah, I do agree. You need a little less timid and a little more of decisiveness there. But by the same token, I kind of felt like he has it. I think this is a series where he can still punish mismatches a little bit, and I think that's encouraging. I don't think John Collins is going to be able to defend him all that well. I don't think Bogdanovich is much of a defender. DeAndre Hunter might give problems, but those are all going to be it's going to be how you weaponize Tobias, off the ball and with the ball in his hand a little bit. But it's just a shame that they let it get so out of hand in the first half, because the second half I thought was more indicative of who the Sixers really are. And I thought they really played pretty well midway through the third quarter and then the entire fourth quarter. Now, as we get wrapped up here, game 2, Embiid has to play. Because Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Got to play.
Yeah, if Joel doesn't play game 2, I don't think they win game 2.
Yeah,
I don't think they win game 2. Then all of a sudden you're down 0-2, and you got to go to Atlanta, and the Hawks just beat up on the Knicks twice. And I get it, the Knicks are nowhere near the Sixers, but like they just beat the Knicks twice at home, and for being such a young team, like I think on Atlanta the only dudes who have playoff experience are Tony Snell and Clint Capella and Lou Williams. Oh, and Gallinari. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Trae Young, this is his first playoff. John Collins, first playoff. Bogdanovich, Herter, Okongwu. This is like the first playoff run for these guys, and they really haven't blinked in the moment. The fact that they were able to go to New York and go into Madison Square Garden and take 2 out of 3 from them in that series, and then come into Philadelphia today, and beat the number 1 seed on the road, I feel like just kind of proves to me that the Hawks are just kind of, they're ahead of schedule right now. But I do believe that the Sixers are a team that, between Ben, Joel, Danny, Tobias, Seth, Dwight, like they're a veteran, experienced team, and I just kind of believe that they're going to get it together. But yeah, to your point, if Joel doesn't play in game 2, there's a chance they could get swept.
I don't think they get swept. I definitely don't think they get swept, but I do think that, and I'll say this: I don't even know that I would be so sure they'd lose the series even if they went down 0-2. But that's just a ton of pressure to put on yourself, where you have to go in and execute perfectly in game 3, or else you're down 3-0 and then you're done. But there's going to be a game where Embiid misses. There's going to be one of those 2 Atlanta games because you need him to play in game 2, and then you can afford to split in Atlanta because then you're getting home court advantage back anyway, and then you do whatever you got to do. But I'm very careful to give the Sixers moral victories in this game. Like, sure, they had.
You can.
What?
You can't give them moral victories. But you know why? Because it's the number 1 seed.
That's my point. Oh, you and I had the exact same fucking point. Exact same point.
Because we know.
You cannot give the 1 seed moral victories, because
can't do
as the 1 seed, if you need moral victories, right, that's a moral loss, because you shouldn't need moral victories as a 1 seed.
Absolutely not. And also, again, this is not the first time in the playoffs for Ben, Joel, and Tobias. This is not your first playoff run. It's just it's not. You had they had a 2-1 lead in 2019 against Toronto, blew it. They had a chance. They had plenty of chances against Boston in 2018, blew it.
Yep.
Had a chance today in 2021, blew it. Like, how many times? And like, for me, Austin, you always learn a lot more from losses. Everybody knows that, than you do from wins. Yep. How many times do they need to take losses to get it through your head that this is the playoffs? You can't make the same mistakes you made in the regular season. Like, how many times are we going to go through this?
Yeah. I don't even think it's like the Sixers making mistakes. I don't think it's the players themselves making mistakes. I think this is about, like, listen, Doc, as storied as you are, as much experience as you have a ring, whatever. The narrative about you is not necessarily a positive one.
It's not.
And
think about it, man.
Doc has to take it upon himself to really feel the game out the way he did Game 5. I thought he pushed all the right strings in Game 5 against the Wizards, and really was masterful in that game. And to follow it up with this is somewhat discouraging. And I think he's such a breath of fresh air. But listen, the MO is the MO, and the MO is that the adjustments are not made. And he's very prideful in his decisions, and he wants to go down with the ship that he has built himself. And so, we shall see. But listen, it's not going to be good if it's the same story with Doc Rivers this year.
It's just not, man. And like I said earlier, if they lose this series, man, heads are going to roll. Listen,
the first thing will be is that Ben gets traded, but I don't, I think outside of that, like, what else can you really do? I mean, I guess you rebuild the bench a little bit, but I mean, well, what else is there to be done?
You got to go out there and win. It's just you have no choice. You got to win this series. I will say this: like if they lose to either Brooklyn or Milwaukee, like I think they will. I think the loss would be a little more acceptable just because it's Brooklyn and Milwaukee. But to lose to Atlanta, who a team again that does not have much playoff experience outside of Lou Williams, Capella, and Tony Snell, and even Tony Snell's playoff experience isn't anything great. You know, it's basically Capella and Williams.
Cardio.
Yeah, basically cardio. So, I mean, like there's just not really much excuses you could come up with if they were to lose this series to the Hawks.
Yeah,
but my gut tells me they do win this series, though.
Yeah, no, I mean this is only one game. I think they'll win game 2. They'll figure some things out, and that'll help them the rest of the series.
Yep.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they went into Atlanta and 1-2, but I think they'll probably split in Atlanta, and then
probably
from there, you'll use 2 out of 3 in your home court. Figure it out. But I got to tell you, if Brooklyn wins this series, but Harden's out, they got a chance.
They don't.
What?
Because they still have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I don't. Listen, miss me with all of that. Brooklyn has been my pick since the beginning.
Oh, I know. You have a lot riding on this here.
So I'll just Brooklyn kicking the crap out of Milwaukee without Harden just kind of proved my point. I'm like, they still have Durant and Irving, man. Like it's not like they go from Harden to and their next best player is like Chris Chiazza or some shit like it was in the past. Like no, you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and in the role that Durant's on right now. Come on.
I think it can be done. If Harden is not available, if he is available, then I think you're SOL. So
listen, they still got Durant and Irving, and the two of them just make it look so easy. Joe Harris too.
I think they can beat Brooklyn without if Harden's not there. That's just me. Because
I think Brooklyn Milwaukee goes 7 games.
Yeah, I would hope Milwaukee would win that series just because it's an easier matchup. I mean, I think they could beat Milwaukee.
Is it though?
Do you think they can beat Milwaukee?
No.
You don't think the series can beat Milwaukee?
No.
Okay, I do.
Not with Drew Holiday.
Oh, come on. Drew Holiday is a very good player. He's not like this. He's not like this revolutionary third star.
No, of course not. What I'm saying is, though, Drew is such a huge upgrade over Eric Bledsoe. So it's like between Giannis and Middleton and Brook and Bryn Forbes all of a sudden turning into the second coming of Steph Curry out of nowhere.
Yeah, you've lost me. You've lost me.
It's so weird though. Look at Bryn Forbes' shooting numbers in these playoffs, dude. It's like he shot the lights out against Miami. Like that was so weird. Come on. That was the defending Eastern Conference champs.
Oh, stop it. That was not the same team.
That was the defending Eastern Conference champs.
Yeah, maybe by name the Miami Heat are, but that wasn't the Heat that was there last year.
You know what's crazy, Austin? Speaking of lost trades, I know we got to wrap it up, but real quick, did the Heat end up absolutely losing the Victor Oladipo deal?
Probably, yeah.
Because I know he's a free agent this year. Do the Heat re-sign him?
I think they test the waters, see what's out there elsewhere, and then they make a decision. I mean, I'll tell you this: if the Clippers go out in the second round again,
yeah,
I think a really easy swap to shake things up would be Jimmy for Paul George. I don't think the Miami Heat would do that, but I think the Clippers would be like, "Hey, listen, we got a star who likes to handle the ball. We need to
go Jimmy and Kawhi."
I think that would be interesting. I don't know that. I think it'd be an easy shakeup that would sort of shift the league a little bit. He's Kai Carlin. He covers the Sixers for Sixers Wire of USA Today. You can find him and his poor basketball takes about the Nets and the Bucks. There, he is in the process of getting verified. I believe he will get it. He doesn't believe he'll get it, but I believe he'll get it because that USA Today name in the bio holds weight. I am Austin Krell. Find me on Twitter at NBA Krell. As always, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Have a good week. We will see you next time for a new episode of The Feed to Embiid. Have a good night, everybody.